All right, great. So thank you all for being here tonight. This is the Humanities Activity training for Junior Science and Humanities Symposium on Saturday. I'm Ellen Raven-Seeger. For those of you who maybe don't recognize me or from the AHEC office, I know you see a lot of Darianne and Cynthia, but not necessarily me. So thank you so much for volunteering for this. I know I think Max did this last year. Max, did you do this also last year?
I didn't. I actually wasn't able to make it.
Oh, what about Ted? Did you do this last year?
Yeah, I did it last year.
I thought so. So I saw that and I was like, he must have loved it because he came back to do it again.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it
I,
was a good experience. I enjoyed it.
Yay. All right. I just want to introduce a few people and then just explain a bit about the symposium, and then we'll go into the humanities. No, we're going to do it in the other reverse order so Heather can leave. We're going to do the humanities activity first, and then she can leave, and I'll talk about some general symposium information. But let me just introduce Heather Biancheri is a teacher from Brookfield High School. She has been developing these curricula for us, the humanities activity curricula, for several years now, and she tests it out on her high school students. She gets input from our advisory committee on topics and, directions she's going in, but then she develops the curriculum, tests it on her own students, and makes sure they get it, it's engaging, takes their feedback, makes it even better. So the structure is that we have two third-year AHEC scholars who are leaders each year. One is Lucy Schlink, she's dental, and the other is Suleika Bush, she's medicine. And one will be in Friends, that's Lucy, and Suleika will be in Patterson. And then the rest of you, with the exception of Daniel, who has a special IT role and will be running back and forth from one to the other, the rest of you will be stationed in one of those two rooms to be small group facilitators. Soaking in the presentation, making sure that you're familiar with the materials before Saturday, but especially familiar with what that small group activity is about. So I am going to hand it over to Lucy and Suleika, and Heather can chime in, enhance, because she knows this backwards and forwards. And now I can hand it off to them. So thanks again.
Hey guys, so I'm gonna share my screen. You guys all received a bunch of documents from Ellen. And I wanted to show you this document right here. Starts like this, and it has 3 different family profiles inside of it. This is the materials that you're going to be going over with the small groups. So each one of you will have a group of kids, and you're going to be having them read through these materials. So make sure you familiarize yourself with these materials. Each family is from a different country, and the concept of the project is that each one of these families of very different backgrounds is facing a level 3 category 3 hurricane. And we want the kids to think about how this would affect each family differently. So you have these 3 families that you're going to have the students read through. It talks about the family structure, who's living in the household. It gives you a little bit of history about that country. It gives you kind of what the average household income is. It talks about their communities, how tied they are to their communities, what kind of support structures they have in place, socioeconomic status. And then after that, it gives you a very brief synopsis about what happens to them after the hurricane hits. The first family from Madagascar is the low-income family. The next family on here is the family from Brazil, and they're the middle-class family. And the third family on here is like a high income family from the United States. Once you have all the kids read through these, I would recommend like reading it out loud as a group and kind of like taking pauses and asking them questions about it for them to get thinking about these, like how socioeconomic status affects how they respond to the hurricane. Then there's this other document. I need to move this here. It's called the Social Vulnerability Scoring Rubric. So after they read about each family, they're going to score each family. And a higher score indicates higher risk. And this is based off of the National Risk Index. So for each category, either while you're reading through or after you read through the family, you're going to score them based off of these different parameters: income, employment, education, family structure, community structure, and housing. And then at the end for each family, you're going to total up their points score. And then as we're going through this PowerPoint, we talk about after the activity what the different scores correlate with versus based off of their risk. Do you guys have any questions about any of that?
Lucy, quick question. All those were in an email that Ellen sent? I was looking at the email right now. I didn't see the tables or the families.
If you responded to the event that you were gonna, like if you accepted the invitation for today, then that email would have gone to your deleted bin. So you would need to look at your deleted bin to the email that you accepted, and then it should be in there.
Fair. Okay. Cool.
And I would make sure that everyone just read through the scenarios before Saturday, so you're familiar with each scenario.
Wouldn't that be on his calendar? If he had accepted it, it's in the calendar.
Oh, it might be on your calendar
and
too.
the
That might be an
attachments are
easier
in the
way.
calendar item. I think so.
It's I actually looked in the trash and it was there, the deleted item. So it
Yeah,
might
that's how I usually find them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
am I wrong? Like it's not on your calendar with the attachments?
I could check the calendar. It might be there
It's
as
just
well.
this is educational for me that maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing
Oh,
it
for
this
me
way.
too.
Yeah, if everyone just wants to make sure that they have it so they can read through it, that would be good. Otherwise, we'll have Ellen resend it to the group.
So yeah, it's also on the calendar, Ellen. So you can either access it from the deleted items or on the calendar, but not from the past emails. Those ones have, I think, either different documents or some of them are different, but yeah.
I just wanted to say, to give you guys all context about the whole presentation, we're gonna start, like the first chunk of the presentation is just gonna be explaining climate change, explaining equity, talking about how climate change is an environmental issue, is it like an issue that the society has to understand and deal with. And then the middle chunk is the case study. So we're going to give them hopefully all the information and background information that they need to do the case study. So we really need you just to facilitate the case study and be really familiar with the different families and the rubric that they're going to use. And so the general like flow of it will be first like the teaching points that we're going to make about climate change. We're going to do a poll everywhere thing where people are just going to talk about their initial ideas of what equity is. And I anticipate like for that too, there might be discussions about like what equity is in general. So feel free to like jump in for that. And then also throughout the presentation, there are going to be like teaching points where we're going to want students to participate. So there we're going to want like help like engaging students or if you know, or like helping certain students like speak up or if they have any questions. And then we'll do the case activity, and then that's where you guys would also facilitate. And then we'll end with like a wrap up of more teaching points and really driving home the idea of equity and bringing that topic back. So that's the general overall flow. So really we just need you to be familiar with the families and then also be comfortable engaging and facilitating participation. So you guys can go through the whole PowerPoint. I think you guys all have it, but you don't necessarily have to. Does anyone have any questions?
We just need to be familiar with like the family that we're going to be talking about in our individual groups, or do we need to be familiar with like every single family?
Um,
Want me to chime in?
yeah.
Yeah, so so you will be, and thank you, you explained that very well. What will be happening is that there will be 6 groups per class, and each one of you will be assigned to a small group. Group 1 will be looking at family 1, and we'll be scoring them based on their community resilience. Group 2 will also be looking at family 1, but they'll be scoring them based on their social vulnerability. Groups 3 and 4 will be working with family 2, same thing, 1 community resilience, 1 social vulnerability, and groups 5 and 6 will have family 3, social vulnerability, and community resilience. So you will be working with just one particular family. So whatever family it is you're assigned, you should be the most familiar with that family. But I would encourage you to also know the difference between your family and other families. Also, be familiar with the rubric that you will be using to score your family, but be more understand the rubric for your family more, but be familiar with the other one as well. So your job with the children when you're working in the small group is to get them to participate, encourage them, and as Lucine's, like I said, throughout the presentation, if they ask a question or they're having trouble accessing poll everywhere, encourage them to raise their hand, encourage them to participate because they don't know everybody there. And then in the small group activity, you may need to push somebody to be the spokesperson and the scribe. You may need to keep time for them. They may have questions about what social justice is or what equity is. I know that when I gave this presentation, I initially had all of my families from the United States. And I know that JSHS wanted to take a little bit more of a global theme, but the kids got really hung up on how race or ethnicity had anything to do with social equity and social justice. And so if there are any concerns about that, just be prepared to answer them, and also reassure the students that the statistics that were used to develop this lesson, even though these are fictional families, it's based on existing data that shows that these are the risks that put families at greater disadvantage to climate-related events. So be familiar with the rubrics, be familiar with the families, but really focus in on the one that you are going to be working with.
I just pulled up that list on the screen so people can look.
Yes, and I think some little additional clarification might be helpful here because that wasn't even set in my mind about the community resilience versus the social vulnerability. So I'm gonna read it out here if just so everybody is clear on what their exact focus is. So group 1, if Jacqueline, it says P1, Cy, it says F1. So that means Patterson, Friends, you're group 1. That's family 1, and that's community resilience. So the people who are a P2 or an F2, that's Robin. And oh, this looks like the old version
Ellen,
of
that would be me as well, because I'm F2.
Max.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. This is the old version. Lucy, is this the one I sent today? Or
I have 2 versions up. Let me just make sure. This
yeah,
doesn't have it.
Yep.
Wait, Ellen, can you go back? I have the new one you sent. I just want to check if it's the same to the list.
Yeah, the new one should say Max is group 2. I had
Max.
two
I'll
group 4 there by mistake on
let
that
you
first.
share it.
I have Max as F2.
Okay, so that is the one that I sent today. Okay, that's great. All right, so let me just, I want everybody to be able to write down what they're doing so they'll feel more confident about that. Okay. All right, so that was for F2 is Max and P2 is Robin. That is family 1, social vulnerability. So group 3 is Shivani, who's not here, and Jasmine. That is Family 2, Community Resilience. The 4s, Ariana in Patterson and Ted in Friends. That is Family 2, Social Vulnerability. Our 5s are Ikodia. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Jessica, who's not, I don't think Jess is here yet. So that is Family 3, Community Resilience. And then the 6s are Bryson and Michaela. I don't think she's here yet. Family 3, Social Vulnerability. So I hope that's a little clearer now what you really need to be, yes, get a bigger picture, see what others are doing, but that is what you're being assigned to you. Having said that, I'm probably going to put this on Lucy and Suleika right now, but if someone is sick on Saturday and we have a group with no small group leader, the leads will need to step into that role if we can't join 2 small groups together for this, a small, like joining 1 and 2 together because 2 is out sick. We might be able to do that. But if you each have 5 students and 2 chaperones in your groups, it would be really tough to join them together. So, let's just keep that in mind. Be familiar with the 3 families if you can, and those rubrics.
And just for some context, the kids are ages 9th grade to 12th grade, and they
Correct.
all are supposed to have teacher chaperones with each group as well. So you won't be alone.
Okay, so that is in the room. They are there together. The chaperone for those students are there. However, there's a random assignment. So their chaperone may be in 1, whereas they're in 5. So they don't necessarily get stuck together, and they get to meet students from different schools and chaperones from different schools. But yes, they will be in the same room together, as long as the chaperone decided to come to the humanities activity and not skip it to sit through the oral presentations another time in the rotunda, another group of orals. That could happen too, but yes, ages 14 through 18. We do have some 12th graders who are 18 who will be attending. We don't want the teachers to take over from you. They might feel compelled to teach, but you are your small group leaders. And this is a great opportunity to learn how to work with teenagers, high school students. If you haven't had that opportunity, you'll, like I always say with the biomedical engineering Saturday activity, you're probably going to be encountering teenagers somewhere in a rotation or at some experience. And if you haven't worked with them before, this is how you can figure out how to get them to warm up and work together. Who's going to be the spokesperson for the group, that sort of thing. Okay, I'm going to stop talking again.
Can I just clarify something really quick? So there was a document that was sent today. I think it was the activity group leaders guide where it like kind of highlights like what to say for each slide and like how many minutes for each slide. Can I just confirm confirm that we're not going through every single slide in our small groups?
Yeah, so that's me and Lucy. So we're gonna, all those teaching points are for us to talk about. So like in the beginning, we're gonna like front load them with information, then we'll do the case study, and then you just facilitate your small little groups, and in the end, we'll talk about those slides again. So you can like review it. I mean, it has material that might like, if some people are less familiar with climate change or want background information to review, by all means go for it, but you're not responsible for presenting.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I remember there was an email that I sent that said, pay specific attention, small group leaders, to these particular slides. However, we tweaked the presentation yesterday, and added a slide early in about public health careers. And so that has shifted whatever I said in that email. And I'm going to try to find that and fix it and get it back out to you, just so we're giving you absolutely correct information about what you're especially responsible for.
During the presentation, there will be a slide that will sort of indicate, hey, small group leaders, it's your time to transition. And if I could share my screen for 1 second, I will just pull up what that will look like for you. Is everybody able to see my screen? Okay. So the screen, the slide that you're looking for to indicate that the small group activity is going to begin will be this one. So the humanities leaders, so Lucy and Salika, will have finished their content introduction, will have finished their initial polling of the students, and at this point, the case study, the individual small group case study begins. And so this is going to tell the kids, hey, listen, now we're breaking apart. You're going to work with your small groups. You have 10 minutes. Groups 1 and 2, you're with family 1. Groups 3 and 4, you're family 2. And this is going to be the opportunity for Lucy and Salika to tell the students, you're going to review the family profiles, and then you're going to use the rubric in your folder to assess that particular risk factor for the families. Choose a spokesperson, and then share back out. And so for the next 10, 11 minutes, you'll be working with those students, going through that, coming up with a score. And then concluding that 10 minutes, the group leaders will bring the whole class back together. And the next slide will say Group 1 Community Resilience. So at that point, you'll prod your student and say, all right, this is the spokesperson's opportunity to share. What was the score that we gave our family for community resilience? And then there's another slide that will prompt, okay, Group 2, can you share, you're working with the same family, could you share the score you gave with social vulnerability? And so at that point, you will have assessed the family, the two groups will have assessed the family in terms of their total risk. And this might be a great time, Lucy or Salika, to put the score on the board so that you can kind of tally it and say, all right, well, now that we have both of those scores, the total vulnerability of this family is maybe a 21, and keep maybe a tally of each of the family's total scores. So it's really just this portion of the activity that the small group leaders need to really pay attention to and participate in. Once we're past the sharing out of families of group 6, then it goes back to the group leaders to start discussing additional content and wrap up and making some connections for the kids. Any questions with that? Does that make sense?
This is a question for Ellen. I know we have mics. Are we giving the students mics as well, or no?
Patterson and Friends, I think, are small enough that if they stand to report out, but it might be okay. But I remember standing in the back of the rooms and feeling like I couldn't quite hear what was going on. So these rooms we're expecting them to be pretty full. So it may be good. Daniel is the IT person. I know he's going to be running back and forth to each room, but I guess you, Suleika and Lucy, you might need to run up if Daniel happens to be in the other person's room at the time. He can only be in one room. So you've got to have a plan to hear. So they can hear you in the back. Please speak into this microphone or whatever. You'll just have to, be prepared. I think Heather
I'll be
tends to
back and
in
forth too.
be back and forth, but in the back of the room. She's not going to be running up and downstairs with mics, but we do want the people in the back to hear the students in the front. and you as well. So, Daniel, with the IT, Daniel, you should be checking, like, can you hear Salika in the back? Can you hear Lucy in the back? And make sure, like, don't be shy. Run down there and say, I'm not hearing you in the back. Don't wait until the second block to tell them. Let's make it the experience as good as possible from the start. Daniel has a special role of dealing with the poll everywhere. He's going to be the support for Lucy and Suleika, who need to know how that works. Heather knows how it works. Daniel needs to know how it works. Daniel, you should be reviewing that information in the small group leaders guide. And Heather, is it possible for him to practice that at home based on information in the small group leaders guide, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year it's a lot easier. It's embedded right in the presentation. So the only thing that has to happen is we have to log into the poll everywhere with the username and password I provided in the guide, and then just make sure that you hit activate. That's the most important thing, is that it's open and it's activated, which means it's accepting responses, and that just needs to be running in the background. So as you're presenting the Google Slides, it should automatically upload the responses in real time to the slides. We don't need to move in and out of the slides this year. So I'm hoping that that works. It worked every time I tried it, so I'm sure it won't work on Saturday. But yeah, I've had no problems with it. It's been excellent. So
And then he needs, or somebody needs to reset it between blocks 1 and 2 and blocks 2
yeah,
and 3. Yes.
super easy. You just hit clear responses, done.
Okay.
And so if there's a problem with the Google Slides, then we go back to the original model and I will be there. We just close down the Google Slides for a second and do it right from the poll everywhere screen. So it's a pretty easy fix, even if it doesn't work.
Okay.
So, sorry, just a quick question. So this website, I can pull it up on like a computer in the is it the computers that you're using that's like in each room that's like built into the room?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's no problem.
Yep. Super easy.
And then so I have to like go between each room to clear it.
We can clear it. I mean, Lucy and Sulika, it's really just pressing a button, so they'll be familiar with that's in the group leaders guide for them as well. I'll be back and forth, so
Okay.
as long as it's open initially and activated, that's the most important thing.
Just
Okay.
be prepared, if Lucy, has had to take over for some small group or just never know. Like,
Yeah.
we want you to be knowledgeable in case she says, Daniel, I got to talk to the chaperone. Can you go clear that?
Oh, for sure, for
I
sure.
just want you to know how that works. And for troubleshooting, friends in Patterson.
Yeah, if there's a volume issue or something in Patterson or Friends, I can maybe help you. And like,
Well,
no, I can for sure help you. And then
you
if
can
there's,
for sure. That's your
and
yeah.
for sure.
Yes,
I
yes.
can for sure help you. And then if there's a video thing, I'm sure I can help.
Exactly.
sure I can help.
This is the kind of thing that we gotta.
The
we
microphones,
just-
like I'm a little less like familiar with, but like I'm sure I can figure it out. And like if I get there early and look at it a little bit.
Yes,
And
and you
like
will
I'm
get
sure
there
it's
early.
probably not
Yes.
that confusing either, and we can figure it out as a group. But like for sure I can assist, yeah. And so I just practice this website at home and make sure that I know how it works. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you. And I'm trying to remember what time I asked the small group leaders to check in, as opposed to Daniel and Suleika and Lucy and Heather, who are all going to be there earlier so they can make sure they've got things set up for when the small group leaders come in. And then you can all talk about stuff and make sure, okay, so here's group 1, here's group 2. There's like going to be signs on the tables where your group is, and you'll be sitting or standing in that area. If there's not enough seats for all the people, we want the chaperones to go to the back and let the students be with themselves. I mean, last year we had a little bit of snow the day before and we lost 30 people. It made some groups tiny, And we are going to have good weather this year, and our registration numbers are higher. So you may be bursting at the seams. You all, except for QU, you might not know what Patterson and Friends are like, but they're rows going downhill. And then if you have like 6 people in your group and there's 4 in front of you and there's 2 behind you, you may be standing between the rows and trying to engage 2 rows of people. You'll definitely be on your feet, and you're going to have to work in that environment. You're not going to be at tables, round tables, or anything like that. So you're going to do the best you can with people's heads. You know, can you turn around with, and you know, you'd like make sure they're engaged and everybody's facing each other with the swivel chairs, wherever they are. Other logistics issues. Yeah, so can somebody remind me what time you folks are getting there based on the email I sent you?
I think I was told to be there at 7:30.
That's Daniel. Yep. But I think the rest of you are later, right?
Yeah, I think at 8.
Okay. That makes sense. So they'll have time to make sure everything's set up. Registration for the mob is 7:45 to 8:30. And at this point, I want to let Heather go. So I'm starting to get into what I want to tell you about the symposium. So let's get back to just humanities activity and any other questions about what you're doing, how your role fits in with everything, or expectations, the content, the flow.
I have a question, just for Heather. Just because I'm looking at the group leaders guide and I see that there is username and password and it's I believe it's like your email, but is that the username and the password? Because
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So any other questions about the content?
There is a Google Classroom that you will find the link in the presentation and in the group leaders guide. So again, if you are interested in looking at any of the software or any of the websites or articles, there's some resources posted that are available to you.
And hopefully the PDF is a live link, and you know that usually works, but sometimes it doesn't. Some of these files were really big, and it was especially, I think, the families, and I had to like PDF print it to make it. It was like 15 megabytes, which we can't send to QU, and so I had to modify it.
Okay.
So if something was lost, a link you want to see, you know, just send me an email, and I'll point you in the right direction.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Have a good night.
Rest of you stay here and we'll talk about the symposium a bit. Okay. So I mentioned the crush. Again, 200 people all coming in 7:30, I'm sorry, 7:45 to 8:30ish. The symposium actually starts on the dot at 8:50 with a welcome from Dr. Anton Alerte, and we have a keynote speaker. And let me just share my screen with the program. Here we go. So it's, I think I attached this to the email. I've asked you to come at 8 o'clock, except for Daniel and the leads. So you will be stopping at a registration table, but it's going to be in the middle of the lobby, not the ones in the front of the lobby. And I'm trying to pull up a different map for you to look at right now to show that to you. Just give me a sec. Here it is. Okay. Okay, so QU folks, you're parking at the academic entrance. We're allowed to park there. There's going to be parking assistance, like dealing with the school buses and parents, guardians dropping off, that sort of thing. And you're going to say, I'm a volunteer, I need to park. And they're going to say, fine, go park over there. students, if you usually park, in a garage on the weekend, or if you usually park at the academic entrance, it should be fine, whatever you want to do, the Farmington students. So this is the table it's in the middle of the lobby, where you go past the mob right here of students and their chaperones. There's going to be a big mob through here too, but you're looking for these tables over here. This is where you're going to find your name tags. For those like QU, if you're not familiar as much with Patterson and Friends, it is over here. So you're going to take a right, go around the corner, and I think is this it right here? I don't know. I don't know what this box is, but yeah. So you just go to whatever room you're assigned to, because it's in the small group leaders guide, whether you're a Patterson or you're a Friends. You pick up your stuff. There is a coat rack here if you want to hang up your coat, or just take it with you, and then head in here. We will have upstairs at the rotunda by 7:30. There should be coffee and water there. There will be snacks there for you throughout the day. Let me just now switch back over to my other screen. Go back to this block scheduling. So the symposium is a research competition for high school students. And this is the 61st year it's been held in Connecticut. It feeds into a national symposium. The top finishers, there's 5 that we send as a delegation from Connecticut to nationals. They're going to be going to Albuquerque, all expenses paid. We had an actual competition on Sunday, the 18th, with oral competitors and poster competitors. There's also a poster exhibition that's online. But the top finishing junior wins a half scholarship to UConn. So it is pretty big deal. And a lot of really motivated students, but we also have a mix. There are some that we call observers. They're totally engaged in the activities, but they didn't do research, or maybe they do some research, but they didn't apply to be a competitor or presenter. They just really interested in STEM. So you'll get a mix of the really high flyers, and then some that are just there to enjoy the day, or a mix of, frankly, the backgrounds of schools. Some schools are very well funded, some schools are not. So you will have a mix of students, and you will be just feeling that out and meeting them where they are. So registration, you're going to be coming through at 8, except for the early birds. You know where to pick up your stuff now. If you are prepared from having been to Patterson and Friends and want to go up to watch the keynote address, that's fine. You'll probably have to peel out a little bit early so that you can be back in your room by the time the folks come for the first block at 9:45. So I know it seems like, wow, I'm getting there at 8 o'clock and I don't actually start until 9:45. Yeah, it's a little bit of a lead up there, but I want you to go to the rooms and really, you can talk amongst yourselves. You're the lead in your room, whether it's Lucy or Suleika, and make sure you're all on the same page. And then get your coffee, go to the keynote address for half an hour, whatever. So you can see that humanities activity, 9:45 to 10:30. Then there's a 10-minute break. And the attendees are broken into thirds, so they can revolve around and see the 3 different things going on through the 3 different blocks of the day. Name tag. The name tag says where the participants are going to be during block 1, block 2, and block 3. So if they say, where do I go now? I'm being dismissed. Where do I go? You say, look at your name tag. You folks are staying in the same room all day, but you'll see 3 different groups of people, and they'll cycle through. The first activity you do, everybody's getting used to the content and the expectation and how the scoring of the rubrics works and the reporting out and how to make sure people are heard. and the pole and all that. By the second time you do it, you'll be feeling much more confident. By the third time you do it with the third group, you'll be really pros at it. So expect that learning experience for the first block. Second block, things will be more comfortable. Third block, you'll really feel great about how things are going. So at that point, you are actually dismissed at 12:20. There are lunches being delivered at 12:15 up by the rotunda. And you're welcome to go up there and grab one of those box lunches and go. However, I am going to ask the folks and friends. Oh, you're also welcome to go to the awards if that interests you. You could actually go to the rotunda. But I think most people grab their lunch and go because they're busy health profession students. So there is a special activity that's happening in Friends Hall after the symposium. It's connected to us. We have helped build this. It is especially for disadvantaged students. It is being put on by the Graduate School for Biomedical Sciences in the building. And we're so lucky this year. It's so hard to get under-resourced schools to come to symposia like this. They can't afford a bus. They can't afford transportation, period. Their students are working on the weekend. The teachers, they can't get a chaperone to cover. The school doesn't have that budget to pay them for Saturday. So there's all sorts of barriers that we know exist. And every year we work so hard and we get a very small number of disadvantaged students to attend. And that's not what AHEC is about. You know, we want to reach those students. And so this year, I've got a new contact with the Yukon CONCAP program at Stores who was like, heck yes, I want to come to this. And I'm bringing 40 students from Norwich Free Academy. And, you know, their parents are first generation immigrants. Some of the kids are first generation. Some it's English as a second language. So we're finally getting an audience that we want to come to our symposium, not just the high flyers, the schools that have research programs. But the second group is Central AHEC. It's our regional center in Hartford. They work with Hartford Public High School students, and there's a small group of them. So we were approached by a faculty member who said, hey, I heard you're putting on this symposium. Is there any way we can kind of glom onto you and present to a disadvantaged group of students? Because we have this grant for diversity, equity, inclusion for Yukon Health that we're trying to reach high school students. And I said, that's a fabulous idea, but we've never been able to attract those students, even though we try. So this year, yes, we have about 50 specifically of that group. So this is invitation only in Friends Hall. They grab their lunch after the awards and they go down to Friends Hall. Could I ask those of you who are in Friends who don't have to dart immediately after to just put some plastic tablecloths on the table? That's all I'm going to ask you to do. They'll be there for you so that when that next group of students, they come down in half an hour, they'll be ready. It'll be ready for them to eat. So those of you who can stay for Friends, 10 minutes extra, don't leave at 12:20, give us another 10 minutes and together you'll be able to get those tables covered. That's all I'm asking. So you got a long story there, and we're really excited about it. And so they're going to get a lab tour, which we're not able to do just because of the timing for the regular attendees. These students are going to be able to go up to the labs. So, and those who are under 16 will go to the virtual anatomy lab. Dr. Harrison got some volunteers to demonstrate the anatomy tables. Did I say that right? So, somebody asked me on the last call I did, what's the dress code? We want you to be comfortable. You're going to be on your feet. hopefully there'll be a seat for you in your group area, but not necessarily. You may be standing in the back until that group activity starts up. Or you may be standing on the stairs in Friends in Patterson. So comfortable shoes, number one. Number two, if you're comfortable in your AHEC Scholars t-shirt and you don't feel like you're going to freeze, great to wear your uniform shirt. If you feel like it's still too cold, it's February 24th and you want to wear business casual, that's fine too. Now, I think all of you, except for QU, are authorized adults. You've done that training for the minor protection program. We have a zone. We give them a venue map that says, here's the zone, folks. It's between Massey and Patterson and Friends, and upstairs it's between the two bathrooms, the bookstore. As long as you don't leave this area, we have so many authorized adults in this area, plus your chaperones, everybody's safe and can wander around. One thing I want to say that if some student asks you, like, you really make this connection, they're so interested in going to dental school or whatever, you cannot provide your contact information. You say, hey, contact Ellen, or have your parent or guardian contact Ellen, the one who's been emailing you. And yeah, I'm willing to help mentor you, but you really need to go through Ellen, and then we go through the right procedure. And I totally do not expect you to offer yourself that way. You are a busy health profession student. But if once in a while somebody asks that question and you're like, yeah, why not? I can talk to you about medical school applications or whatever, or what, but you gotta, we'll just do it the right way. Go through me. Yep. And so they're not going to friend you on Facebook. There's none of that. So any questions about the symposium, when you're needed, check in, check out.
Ellen, do you know how many or how big the groups are that each of us have?
Yes. I think just doing the math the way, like, I have to have school groups travel together. And with the exception of Norwich Free Academy, that giant group, some of them are in the other room. Like, most of them are, say, in Patterson, and there are a few with a chaperone in the other room. But in all other cases, school groups travel together. So all the Farmington High School are in one room, and all the Greenwich are in another room. So when you do the math, dividing by 3 and then dividing by 6 groups, there are, I think, no fewer than 5 per group and no more than 8 per group. And that will include not only students, but also chaperones. And sometimes the chaperones are their teachers. Sometimes, because there was no teacher chaperone, because there was just one student coming from a school, for example, it's their parent or guardian. I have assigned them to a group. It's right on their name tag that they're in your group. But like I mentioned before, if you're short on chairs, you just politely say, you know what, we don't have enough space for the chaperones this session. Could you just stand in the back while, so the student can take his or her place here. And then last year, because we had snow, there was a bus of like 20 students that didn't come. And so that particular room, block, whatever it was kind of decimated. Like, it was half full for that particular block in that particular room. Hopefully we won't have that happen to you this year, and you'll have pretty full groups. There's going to be always going to be 10% attrition for any activity like this. So you may go down to 4. That may happen. If there was a group of 2, you're going to decide, oh, this certain school, their chaperone was sick, they couldn't come, and now I only have 2 people in my group. Lucy, Saleka, what should I do? Well, if you're comfortable, seems okay to work with just 2 people, do it. If you want to glom on to another group that has 4 and you 2 work together with them, you could decide to do something like that. What other kind of weird exceptions might happen? That's all I'm thinking of right now. Ted, do you have any guidance from your having done this same thing with a different topic last year? Last year it was viral spillover. But, you know, in different types of different small group activity, but the same structure, you know, you're assigned to a certain thing and everybody reports out on something slightly different. Ted, any guidance?
I would say it's pretty low stress overall. We did a lot of like ad hoc like questions, like if we had like trouble following like the slides or something. So I would say it's pretty like stress free going through and not to like worry too much. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too many issues that arise.
Good. All right, any other questions?
Quick technical question, but do we need to like print out any resources or will
Oh, good point. No, there'll be a folder for your group waiting for you with a sign that says group 1 or whatever your group is. You don't have to print anything. And then all the because you're cycling through 3 different iterations of the same activity with 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 of the attendees. For some materials, I believe there'll be a copy for everyone, and for some materials, it's it needs to be recycled for like the one that people can write on, the rubric. That will be a copy for everyone. Like they can write on their own, and then whoever ends up reporting out, you know, they're reading from their copy. The one that's the family profile, that 3-pager, that should be recycled. So it goes back in the folder, gets used a second time and a third time. So just be familiar with what's in the folder so you understand, and that's what you're going to go over with your group when you arrive. Okay, so this gets handed out and this we have to collect again. Everybody from the registration desk will have a pen in their folder, and you will have a pen in your folder. You don't even have to bring a pen.
Perfect. So someone mentioned like a scribe earlier. So is that going to be like written on the paper, just like we don't have a Google Doc?
Oh, yes, the scribe for your group, in, you know, 3 times, 3 iterations, somebody needs to report out. So you can decide that as a group. You know, like we're going to work on this activity and I'd like one of you to report out in 10 minutes. Do I have a volunteer? And then, you know, you'll be ready to go with that person ready to stand up when Suleika or Lucy calls on group 1 to report out. Did I answer your question for the scribe?
Mostly, I just wanted to make sure there's not like a Google Doc that we need to set up to record anything for a scribe, that it's all just
Okay,
going to be.
I don't think I'm following that. So the Google Classroom, the thing she mentioned, Google Classroom, that Heather mentioned, or no?
No, I think so. There's going to be one person at the end who's going to share out, but everyone's going to have to explain why they chose what they chose. So there's no official Google Doc that goes with filling it out like in UST that we do. But if groups wanted to have someone like jot down notes, or if you pre-assign the person who's going to speak for a group, then I guess that would be the scribe. But there's no official scribe, just the person who's going to share at the end. I think.
Thank
Lucy, if
you.
you want to, I don't know. I didn't think there was an official scribe, but
Yeah, and when Heather mentioned that Suleika and Lucy are going to be
yeah.
doing total scores for each family, like that might be something on the whiteboard, I think she was talking about, and then you can add up, you know, for each of the 3 families, and then a row for you know, the social vulnerability versus the community resilience, and then you find out what the end scores are. So it sounded like she wanted that on the whiteboard. I don't think that was like a Google.
We need to bring markers in because there's no markers in the room. And it also does not erase, so you'll need Expo liquid.
Thank you
Otherwise,
for
it will be
mentioning
stuck
that.
there
I
for
have
eternity.
noticed that for our biomedical engineering.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. And if you think it makes more sense just for me to create like an Excel slide that you can fill
Might
in.
be easier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll do that. All right, any other questions? You've been a great audience. Thank you very much. And Michaela, I see you're here. I don't know when you arrived, but and I don't mean to be calling you out. I know people have different things going on. I think Jess was going to arrive. I think Jess needed to arrive late too, but I have a recording, so I'm going to send that out to everyone. And if you're the one of the ones who needed it, then you can access it. Or if you're confused about something, you can look at it.
Our M2 advising, I thought it was an hour, but it was an hour and a half.
It's
I
fine.
told
Don't
Suleika,
worry. I just wanted you to
um,
know I did start recording in case anybody couldn't be here. And there was a school of nursing student who couldn't be here, and she's going to get it too. So,
Great, thank you.
oh no,
Appreciate
it's
it.
fine. There was only one primer, and nobody can make everyone primers all at once. I understand that. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. And
Arrival was 8
Caitlin,
a.m.
thanks for
us
being
really
here,
quick.
Caitlin. Yay. Hey, Ted, what did you say?
Arrival was 8 a.m. for us. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And that will give you time to do everything. Coffee, bathroom break, whatever you need to do, and even a little bit of keynote if that's what you want. But mostly prepare with the people in your room. And Daniel running back and forth, seeing who's in each room. All right. Thank you all so much. And I will see you Saturday. And if you get sick, we don't want you there. We will figure out a plan B. You email me. My cell phone, I believe, is in the email. You can let me know you're running late, but you'll be there at X time. I will really appreciate you staying in touch if something weird happens. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks, Suleika. Bye.